now that we have everything in place, it looks like this week will be another week for a new episode of Mars on Life. Hello, everyone. I'm back again. This is Ryan Mancini. Joined with me, as always, is
Sebastian Shug. Pleasure as always. But I think we have someone else here. I don't know. I'm picking up on something.
I don't know. I'm
I don't
all
know.
by myself in my room right now, so I don't know what you're talking about, but
Must be the voices. Anyway, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. I'm Shawnee Badger, and I am also alone in my room.
All right.
Oh,
So it turns out I
man.
need to go see someone. But hello.
Hi. I'm
Yeah.
super
Shawnee,
here.
welcome to Mars on Life, and you're our first guest. So thank you so much for having some time out of your day in quarantine to join us
Heck yeah. I'm the first guest ever?
First guest ever.
for this show. Yeah.
How far
Right.
we've come.
I'm so excited and honored. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So kind of something that Sebastian and I have sort of developed in terms of when we have guests on the show, sort of what we hope to talk with them about and kind of get an idea as to how their work kind of ties in with not only reflecting on society, but also what else artists do that, try and enlighten us as a society. I guess before I transition to you, Shawnee, I just want to give a quick shout out. Of course, we're all in isolation/quarantine due to coronavirus. And as much as there's a lot of great people out there to follow and listen to, just want to give a quick shout out to the Chort and Chitty podcast. They came out with a little PSA statement today. When I mean today, I mean on April 1st. That's when we're recording this episode. And please give them a follow, give them a like, listen to their show. They're a couple of great guys. I used to work with Thru, one of the hosts. That's Chort and Chitty. It sounds like a different phrase, but Chort and Chitty. This is a PG show. This is a family-friendly show, damn it. Anyway, yeah, so Shawnee, I guess kind of to hit it off, kind of give us a little bit of background as to sort of your career, your work, I guess you could say post-apocalypse, or no, pre-apocalypse, and kind of what else you've been doing around SoCal.
Totally. Yeah. So I'm an actor. Actually, pre apocalypse, I had just finished a show. It was my first leading role in a play.
Oh.
And it was a show called Eurydice by Sarah Rule, and it's a really lovely story, kind of like a modern take on the myth of Eurydice and Orpheus. And it talked about love and loss and romantic love and love between a father and daughter, and it was just a really beautiful story. So yeah, I'm an actor. I had a 3-year career doing modeling before that, and I think doing that was kind of what led me into acting. Doing modeling, you kind of are this character. You're not really, at least for me, you're not really yourself, because I'm in actuality very awkward and very awkward and somewhat of a nerd. And so modeling was definitely very out of character for me. And yeah, the whole kind of taking on this different persona in modeling was really fun, to not have to be my awkward self, to get to be something else. And that kind of sparked my interest in pursuing an acting career. And yeah, I paint. I'm very involved in political activism, And yeah, I just love telling stories that will make the world a better place.
I mean, we'll definitely.
Well, that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kidding.
Can we just end it here? No. Yeah. I do have one question though, and this is just from an outsider looking in. I mean, obviously, this is actually the first time we've spoken to each other. We've met. With this new wake, and I know you stated before the pandemic or before the apocalypse, are you still channeling those skills now that you're kind of bunkered down in self-isolation? Like, when it comes to creative avenues for acting, modeling, political activism, especially, I know we touched upon that a few times in a few episodes of Mars on Life. Would you say that it's still not valuable, because of course it is, but what's the right word? Viable. Like, is it still possible to do?
Yeah, I've definitely, it's been hard in a lot of ways, like especially acting. I mean, all my acting classes got canceled. Not many, there's not many options for online just because acting is so much about connecting.
The in-person feel.
Right, exactly. Like even, you can video chat, but it's just not the same thing as like really being in front of someone and looking into their eyes and really connecting with them. So acting is definitely that's been a hard one. I've tried to like put together play readings. I got the rights to a play, and I'm working on trying to do like a virtual play reading of it. But other than that, it's definitely really hard to create and tell stories. I mean, I guess one thing I've kind of been trying to do, and this sounds slightly crazy, but actors are kind of crazy, is, I've studied the Meisner technique, and in the Meisner technique, you kind of, there's this aspect of it called emotional preparation, where you sit down and kind of go into your imagination and use your imagination to elicit different emotions depending on what's called for in a particular scene. You would use emotional preparation to, if at the top of the scene you need to be feeling, upset or angry or happy or whatever it is, you emotionally prepare for the top of that scene, and then whatever happens in the scene happens, because you take it moment by moment. But I guess I've been kind of doing stuff like that. It's like putting on music and going into my imagination and feeling sad or feeling angry or feeling happy. And honestly, I mean, right now it's pretty easy to get to the sad place. I'll tell you that right now. Because, gosh, I mean, everything, not being able to connect with people as an actor is really difficult.
So would you say that being alone helps you sort of find your, I guess, center more so, like if you're, like you said, if you're trying to hearken or hone a specific emotion, being alone helps with that?
Yeah, I'd say, you really have to know yourself before you can know a character. I think you have to know your own story before you can tell somebody else's story. So definitely having that time to get in touch with yourself and your own emotions and how emotions land in your own body, then that can help you, with bringing that voice to another character or to another story. But definitely, yeah.
Wow. I mean, definitely productive then.
Yeah, I'm trying.
No, it's just such a and of course Ryan could chime in on this as well, but it's been such a hectic atmosphere that it's not even to the tune of beating a dead horse anymore, that I think a lot of people are just sort of, with this whole self-isolation, they're sort of, well, they're understandably lost because, they can't interact with other people, they can't interact with other artists. And I mean, it is a test of independence. I feel that you sort of have to think outside the box when you're placed in this situation. And we've definitely touched upon that as well when this started. I believe last episode we were just kind of just tossing around ideas about artists figuring out what to do in this time. So
yeah, well, we and Shawnee, I don't know if you had a chance to see it on either our social media or through the Mars on Life social media, but we were promoting the hell out of the Los Angeles artist census, and it's such a cool thing, and I think it's something in which, you know, it really has all the potential to earn as a great tool for artists in and around Southern California. And, you know, on our show, we like to look at artists as being more than just, you know, the painters and the sculptors. It's, you know, the writers, the authors, the actors, the screenwriters, the filmmakers, journalists even. And I think that's something that it's kind of difficult when, you know, for a lot of people, their sources of income related to the arts is totally cut off because of a pandemic. And, you know, it's something that, you know, it's on our minds all the time. It's you know, we can't escape it. And I guess since the three of us are all kind of, you know, tools of communication fields, I guess what's in your kind of capacity, what's it sort of been like to, you know, for the lack of a better term, sort of cope over the last few weeks?
I work at Disneyland. I do performing there. And I mean, I guess I guess financially I'm in an okay place because Disney is paying us. The performers, the food service, ride operations, we're all getting paid while the park is closed. I think the former CEO, Bob Iger, he took a complete pay cut, and then the new CEO is taking like a 50% pay cut.
Yes.
So, yeah, which is very impressive and wonderful. And I mean, I was shocked but very happy to see that. So yeah, I mean, coping financially, I guess I'm in an okay place. I mean, the lack of opportunity is kind of what's been hard to cope with. Like, there's no auditions, there's no theater productions. Like, the few things that I was planning to audition for were canceled. So kind of that like creative fulfillment and wanting to be successful and a working actor, because, you know, there's like that stereotype that's, you know, not far from the truth for a lot of actors in Los Angeles, that, you know, actors are unemployed, they're not serious, they're not working, they're not, you know, showing up and doing the work. And for someone who is an actor who does, you know, do everything I can to get work, show up, right now not having any opportunities at all is really discouraging and depressing, frankly.
Mm-hmm. I think with this whole surge of online means, I mean, that's pretty much the only way people can communicate and really do business in the artistic sphere. You have so many people wanting to market their skills, like let's say graphic design and, you know, music production, for example, to a point where everyone's doing it all at once. And I mean, I don't know. Do you think that that's, I mean, it's great that they're putting their talents out there amidst this pandemic. However, is it good for the everyday artist, is my question, that everyone's doing it at once?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like for example, you know, I do painting, and I follow a few companies who have who lead painting classes around Los Angeles, who have moved all of their painting classes online and their art classes online. And there's so much. I mean, there's so many classes every single day, and there's so many opportunities for people to sign up and take art classes. And I don't know, maybe with so many people in quarantine, there's enough to go around for everyone. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the painting that you've done is fantastic. I mean, I think that's what's sort of interesting now is artists, and the term content creator comes to mind, where it's just about what you can keep on doing, where you've got friends and perhaps even a fan base that will continue to see what you're doing, especially if it's people that aren't working, and rent day just hit, people have lost their jobs, and people don't know how exactly they're going to move forward with their lives. And so having that brief bit of reprieve where they can sort of mellow, relax a little bit, have a laugh or two, or just go full Joker hysterical Joker stuff. I think that's
we killed the Batman.
That's we had a long Joker talk, just so you know, Shawnee. But without breaking some eggs, part 2. You can find it on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Anyway.
God, you want to make that plug any more ham-fisted?
Speaking of ham, no, I'm just kidding. But we don't advertise ham on this podcast. I think it's kind of like making sure that we ourselves, but also just any kind of content creator coming out with something. And I think to some degree it can be gradual. Like, I know, shout out to our guy Zachary Erberich. He's the guy who made the artwork for our show, and he's grinding. He's making sure that he's producing more great pieces of work, while also working at a grocery store. So in his case, it's interesting, but it's also kind of scary, just because he is an artist, but he's also kind of putting himself out there. Whereas, and I know, Sebastian, in your case, you're still dealing with people every day with work, or at least every other day, perhaps.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not to go into too much meticulous detail, but the thing is, when you're an inch away from somebody's car, right? And this is coming from a guy whose position at work is not even drive-through, and not even the traditional definition of what you'd interpret drive-through as being. No, this is me guiding people out there with my hands, one by one, into the drive-through, because there's so many lines, and people, for some reason, think that buying donuts is an essential good. I don't know how the fuck that's possible. The funny thing is, we actually got fined for gridlock. That's how bad it was.
Oh
Wow.
my god. The demand.
When you can clearly see Walmart right there, not as packed, is less crowded. And the funny thing is, it's just, I can understand, and I've told people this as well, with this downright dwindling economy. I'm no economist, but it's probably pretty bad. People losing their jobs and everything, and turning to alternative forms of income like Uber Eats, Postmates. I can understand food delivery, but when you get approached by one person after another saying, "Hey, if I just want to get donuts, how long's the wait?" About 2 hours, and they'll willingly do it.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I mean, without giving away where you work.
Without giving away where I don't really care.
Here's the thing. I get the demand, but
Yeah.
at the same time, and maybe it's because I'm practically an existentialist, but maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? Just not worth it. I'll go home. Like
I don't get the demand, and personally, they're not getting the supply, so he canceled that. But
Crazy.
I think this is, artistically or not, this whole thing has caused people to lose their minds. And speaking from someone who's been retail all their life, or has had retail positions all his life, it just really makes you wonder what people put ahead of themselves. So, I don't mean to stand up on my soapbox or anything, but
oh no,
Stand on.
hey, you know what?
I'll just step down.
When we get Zach on the show, you and I are going to be doing the Wayne and Garth "We're Not Worthy" thing. As far as well, technically I will, because out of the three of us, between you, me, and Zach, I'm the one who got hosed in terms of work. But on top of that too, I know that, kind of turning it back to you, Shawnee, I know that, and obviously this is where our paths have crossed multiple times. Another factor, or another thing about you that is very fascinating in terms of you being an actor, but then also having this life that entails, politics and activism. I guess what kind of came first for you? Was it the wanting to act, or did the activism come first? And kind of, do those paths ever cross?
Yeah, they definitely cross. I mean, acting came first, and then came the activism, and they kind of both, for me, have gone hand in hand. I think just because they come from the same place inside me, like in my soul. Like with acting, it's all about, for me, like giving a voice to the voiceless, because I know, like, when I was growing up, I had a pretty crazy childhood, and I didn't really have a voice in my childhood. And so when I found acting, it was like I found my voice, or it helped me to find my own voice. And it also, I think it always interested me, because it was like my playing in my imagination was an escape from all of the trauma in my childhood, and getting to be somebody else and have a different family was just like such a comfort to me, and kept me kind of, I don't know, from going off the deep end. I think being able to play in my imagination and imagine that, my life would get better someday, or someday things would be different for me. And then that kind of evolving into imagining that I'm someone else, and the empathy that comes along with that. And, acting really does make you a more empathetic, compassionate, caring person. You want to connect with people. You want to understand their life and, their story. And I think that's what activism is as well, like having empathy and, reaching across the aisle and trying to understand, why people might need healthcare as a right, or housing as a right, or, why protecting our environment is so important. And yeah, all those things.
Yeah, I mean, those all seem to be things that, at least since, in the years leading up to me walking up to Sebastian talking about doing a podcast, that's something that I've noticed a lot of from artists in and around Southern California. And, you and I kind of grew up in the same area, and, separate parts of the same area. And for a long time, frankly, I mean, and there just never seemed to be anybody quite like that, at least from whom I saw. It was just me. writing tirades against Honey Boo Boo and Rush Limbaugh and the religious, just basically being the most dark horse person at my high school, but trying to do it through journalism and try and have it be responsible yet as adversarial as I knew I needed to be. And that was something that I always kind of found fascinating with you, just because, the way I've kind of described Shawnee to a lot of people when it comes to a lot of the local activists and political junkies where I live, is you're kind of one of the last of the Mohicans, in that, you're still here and you're still fighting a great fight. And I think it's in a lot of ways it's bittersweet, just because it's sad to see a lot of those other people go, but it's also encouraging to see kind of where you're at, where you're fighting real hard for a lot of amazing causes, but then also having to try and balance everything back home, because at the end of the day, activism can carry on over into what you're getting paid for, but then at the same time, that's not always the case. And I think there's a lot of people who try to get into activism thinking they can do that. And I think kind of the way that you sort of walk that line is, in my mind, it's fascinating. Granted, I've also seen you up close doing that kind of stuff, so I'm biased in that I have firsthand experience seeing it. But I guess when you sort of look now at sort of the state of things in terms of balancing art as well as trying to be as active as you can in the community, I guess what seems to be I don't know, I guess where you kind of see it now kind of moving forward. I know there's some people where you and I live that are still trying to fight some fights, including with regards to like presidential campaigns. But I guess have you kind of usually just sort of hunkered down and put that part of life on pause?
Yeah, I mean, I want to try and find a balance between the two, because I really think that for me, there's just so much intersectionality. Like, I think I was even just saying this the other day. I feel like, to be a good actor and to tell a story, that's an imagined story or a fictional story, and to make that matter to you, and to make the words of another writer or of a writer, to make those words matter to me and personal to me. I don't think, you can do that well if you don't care about what's actually happening in the real world right now. Like if what's going on right now doesn't affect you in some way, I don't know how an imaginary story could affect you, and to be an actor, it needs to affect you. But I really want to try and find a balance between the two. I know I'm not going to run for office. I've had, with my level of involvement, I think people have thought that I would run for office someday, or have encouraged me to run for office, which is really flattering, but it's never going to happen, because, at the end of the day, I'm an actor and I'm a creative person and I'm an emotional person and I'm sensitive and an artist, and I don't really think you can be those things. Sacrifice something if you want to, try and hold public office. I think you're going to have to let go of some of those sensitivities or emotions to survive. And I have no interest in doing that. But yeah, I definitely do want to have, I want to stay involved in some capacity, as grim as things continue to get. In our community and in our world, I feel like, I really want to try and hold on to hope that things will get better. I think that's what's kept me involved this long, is I have like this really kind of, I don't know, strong sense of hope and optimism. And it probably comes from the way I grew up. Things were pretty bad when I was growing up. And so I had to hold on to hope to survive and to make it out of my childhood alive. And so now I think I'm trying to channel that hope that into that maybe the state of the world will get better, our community will get better if I keep trying to fight the good fight and stay involved, maybe things will get better. And so that's kind of what's kept me going.
And I know that as well, there's been a couple of really great political organizations that you've been not only involved in, but you've been a leader in. I guess kind of tell us a little bit about how that kind of came about.
Yeah. So I kind of co-founded and lead meetings for an organization. It's a local chapter called Our Revolution Santa Clarita Valley, and it's a part of a national organization called Our Revolution, and it came out of the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign, and they're kind of all about building a grassroots movement within different local communities to fight for progressive issues, to elect progressive candidates to office, primarily to push the Democratic Party to be a more progressive party and to get money out of politics. So I've been a part of that organization for, 2 years I've been leading that group. We have like a meeting every month. It's relatively small just because of the community that I live in. But it's definitely gotten bigger since it started. I think, people kind of are in and out. But for the most part, we have a large membership list. And I also, after starting that group, I brought Democratic Socialists of America, along with another local DSA member. We brought that to the area, and we kind of made the two organizations like sister groups, and they both meet on the same day, one after the other, which is really nice. And it's worked out really well because it's kind of, pushed people in two different directions. Like DSA people pushed them into Democratic Party involvement, and then pushed the Our Revolution people into DSA involvement. So kind of helped to grow both of those organizations on a bigger level, which is really nice. And yeah, I think that came out of, in 2016, I was a big Bernie supporter, and I was a delegate for Bernie. And so it just made sense to keep trying to fight the fight and grow the political revolution after 2016 was unsuccessful.
And you showed up in a Showtime show that touched on the 2016 Democratic National Convention.
Yes. My gosh, when I was at the convention, I was was really out there with my passion. So I think I got too much news coverage that I kind of wanted, but it's fine.
Well, I was just gonna say, for anybody who wants to find Shawnee, it's a Showtime show. Enemies: The President, Justice, and the FBI. You'll find her there. Blink and you'll miss her. Yeah.
I'm just more so blown away by the level of just accomplishment. That's why I kind of just kept silent. Other than praise, really nothing further to add. I mean, this is your episode, so please, by all means. It just makes me wish that this whole thing was over so that we can just get back to what we're all doing, because it's just such a shame that it all has to come to a halt. You know what I mean? And But yeah, anyway.
Well, and I think you mentioned that, and I think that in a way it ties in with what we had talked about last time. It's not just, the film industry, the book industry, but even, to the extent of sort of what we were just talking about, Shawnee, with kind of the local activism, with RREV and with DSA. The sad thing is that those meetings aren't happening anymore. And speaking as somebody who's been to a lot of those meetings myself, and it's a shame just because that, and you and I have talked about this before, that there's that connectivity when it comes to people seeing each other and kind of acting on instinct in person when it comes to, who are you going to vote for, or, why do you support, this person over Bernie or whatever. And I think it goes to something you once told me about kind of people interacting with each other and how, sometimes with our generation, it's a little bit more difficult to get people motivated and to get them active. But now we're in a situation where you're literally being told for your own safety, and it's kind of, you can't really question it. It's kind of like, for your own safety, you need to stay away from other people. I guess what's kind of what ways do you think activism could still go on, outside of a home? And I can already think of one answer, and it's 2 words: social media. But I'll let you answer the question anyway.
No, totally. I think the most powerful tool we have right now is social media, and there's so many different, especially campaigns are offering all these different tools like texting and phone banking, and even in 2016 I heard this term face banking, where you can go on Facebook and type in on the search bar like friends who live in whatever city and state, and you can see if you have any friends in that particular state, and if there's a primary happening that day or upcoming, you can message all those friends and let them know about their upcoming primary and who they should vote for. And yeah, social media is definitely like a really powerful tool. And I think a lot of people, especially like young people, don't realize the impact that they as individuals can have, in political activism. Like, when I was first kind of getting involved in the Democratic Party, I, learned that there's a platform that the party kind of writes, and it's like a value statement of all the things that matters to the party. And I read it over, and I saw that, they didn't have any, because I'm vegan, and they didn't have any language in there about, plant-based living and the connection between that and the environment, and how living a plant-based lifestyle is, really environmentally friendly and can help save our planet. And, little me just by myself, like, wrote language and got it passed into the platform, and I'm just one person, and that was like, I think I was like 22 or something, so I was relatively young. And young people, young individuals can make a difference and can make an impact. All it takes is involvement. If you show up to meetings, or if you volunteer for your candidate, you're making a difference and you're making an impact. And I really wish that more young people really understood that you going out and voting, because I've seen, we've seen that like young people, I guess, aren't turning out the way we had hoped, which is really sad. Right. Because if people were turning out, then those individuals could change the course of history.
Yeah.
I think to that effect, though, young people are turning out in ways that, if it's drastically opposing what sort of the older generations have sort of set into stone for us these past decades, I think they are doing their part in assisting these causes by combating some of these more destructive tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I do get a little bit annoyed when my Twitter timeline is completely clogged up with these kinds of people. But I do know that but I do know that it's for a good cause, and it's like, well, no, this is important. These are issues, and I'm glad that people are taking great strides in ways that they know how to in order to mobilize these efforts.
Yeah, you're
And
totally
I guarantee you that if people were allowed outside, we'd be doing this in a more crowd-centered area of mobilization. So
totally. Yeah, I think this, like, our generation is definitely more tuned in, and maybe part of it is to do with social media, but is more informed and more tuned in
yeah.
and more, I think, more often than not on the right side of the issues than
hmm
other generations. So that's, I think, absolutely true.
I don't know where Ryan stands on this personally. I definitely don't like to think that I know everything on the planet when it comes to,
I see everything. I know everything. I am
um,
everything.
I guess part of a personal experience of mine when it comes to getting behind things, backing up certain aspects of movements, is to really get a hands-on approach. Uh, Whereas I state to myself each and every day that I still have more and more to learn. So I never try to come across as either one side or the other. It's mainly just how can I further analyze this until I can make sense of it, so to speak. So.
Yeah, I think I like what you touched on just because uh well, I guess speaking for myself, in terms of causes and, like my own kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, but something that really became real to me, growing up, I wasn't somebody that was reading, Howard Zinn or Noam Chomsky. I was getting a lot of my education and information from a lot of different, you know, resources. Right about now, trying to get anybody to be out there and be mobile, it's not feasible. I know DSALA has done an amazing job with their social media. They're on point on Instagram just about every waking day, and I love it. I mean, I guess, you know, Shawnee, have you kind of tried keeping in touch with people on, local matters, whether it's about, Bernie's campaign or anything else of that sort, or has it just kind of been kind of like what we've been doing, just sort of battening down the hatches and waiting this out?
Yeah, I know that, I mean, there are still phone banks happening. And I know I've encouraged, people to continue phone banking for Bernie, but with the primaries being, rescheduled, and yeah, things kind of, I think we're just kind of waiting it out, sort of. But I mean, there's definitely still things you can do, for Bernie, because Bernie does not intend to end his campaign as of right now. So there's still things we can do: phone banking, posting on social media, talking to your friends and family, texting for Bernie. There's still many things we can do from the comfort of our own homes.
I think if anything, it's encouraging as long as something still goes on. I mean, I
Right.
know
Something
Bernie's been increasingly active.
has to be stimulated, and something just has to be an effect of all this time spent online, mobilizing online through social media. I'm not trying to speak it into existence, because who the hell knows if we're going to be allowed out of our houses in the next 30 days. But I think if something doesn't happen when it comes to political activism, or just, we're not out there officially doing so, I think it could be a real detriment.
Yeah.
And, I'm wondering if, and again, I'm not trying to think glass half empty, because I just reached for my water as I said that. But, I like to kind of examine things, whereas if our efforts thus far haven't been working, then what?
Yeah.
I'm not saying people like us who put not the cart before the horse before the cart. There we go. And actually get a snowball effect running. I'm not saying the people who do that are their efforts are lost, so to speak. Not at all. But what happens after it potentially doesn't work? Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really knows that yet. So.
Well, I know for one thing, a really great journalist that I follow, Sarah Jaffe, she's kind of encapsulated this whole moment perfectly on Instagram. She said, I love how the internet has all regressed to being MySpace, stickers, quizzes, lists of things we've done, song lyrics, ridiculous animation, overexposed selfies, ... I think to a weird extent, that's kind of where we're at right now. Yeah, it's now since we're kind of getting close to the end of the show here, Sebastian. I don't know if you had any other questions or anything you wanted to throw Shawnee's way before I ask my little fun question at the end that I have no answer for. Well, actually, I have a deflection. A deflection is my own answer to my own question. But anyway, go ahead.
So I like to pose hypotheticals when it comes to instances such as this. And given your background, it's actually really interesting to me. I've grown up with a lot of creatives, especially within the acting sphere. So it's definitely nice to see another face. But say everything clears up, we're allowed to go outside, the National Guard isn't putting a shotgun to our skulls. What are you doing next?
Yeah. Well, you're saying like if the world doesn't end?
What's next for you, basically?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to pursue something other than acting or modeling or painting, or are you going to stick with these paths and see where they lead?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to stick with acting and continue pursuing that. I had some shows that I was supposed to do. One show that I got cast in goes up in November, so hopefully things will be better by then and I can do that show. And I'm in talks to do The Tempest, Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to continue doing is just I guess I mostly do theater, and then I have a representation who submit me for film and TV. So once things get back to I don't even want to say normal because they kind of weren't normal, but once we start moving again, then I think hopefully I'll have more auditions and things. So yeah, definitely gonna keep pursuing acting and continue caring about my community and the world as much as I can.
Good.
Now I'm throwing this to both of you guys. Now, have either of you seen? And I say this as somebody who won't watch it, and like I said, I have a deflection as my answer. Now, have either of you gotten?
Then why ask it?
I'm asking the questions here. It's my turn. Have either of you gotten onto this bandwagon about Tiger King?
Fuck.
Oh my god. Yeah, I just started it today.
Okay.
No.
I don't know what to do.
And I'll tell you why. No.
Oh dear God.
But Shawnee, go ahead, please.
Well, yeah, listen, I was like not gonna watch it because I'm a vegan and I'm pretty sure that there was like a whole like warning at the beginning of it, some language on the screen that talks about how there's animal abuse in it, which I'm, as a vegan, I just don't want to watch. But everyone won't stop talking about it and the memes are everywhere and I hate not understanding things because I'm a total type A person and I want to know everything that's going on and I want to be in on the jokes. And so
the memes
I did
will
start
not stop.
The memes will not stop. Oh my god. So I'm on episode 3. I think I just finished episode 3. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, on the contrary, because that's what I do best, I'm very much a type B person where I couldn't give less of a shit if you paid me. But the thing is, no. But that's not coming from personal vendetta. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to just batshit crazy shows like this, oh yeah, it piques my interest. The thing is, when you are, how do I put this? When you are inundated by a bunch of outside sources, and I'm talking about people who have either seen the show, posting memes about the show, just all in all engrossed in the pop culture of it all, and thereby spoil it for you, kind of takes the fun out of it. Now, this has happened with shows like Breaking Bad, The Wire, Westworld,
Walking Dead.
Okay, Walking Dead is
Doctor Who.
Okay, I'll take that to the grave. However, will I watch it? Probably not anymore, because pretty much with everything with everyone having nothing to do now. Everyone's just binge watched it. So I know what happens, and I'm angry that I know what happens, because there was one meme that just it sent me. It really did. This is so. Steve Irwin is to Joe Exotic as Mario is to Wario, and if you know anything about these character arcs, one is completely calm and collected, the other is just batshit. I don't know if I'll watch it, so to speak. I do know that once that quarantine's over, I'm taking a 9-iron to those people who spoiled its kneecaps, and that's all I'm gonna say.
So
I might end up in jail with Joe Exotic, so I don't know.
Oh god. So I'll throw it this way, because I've been in a.
What's your opinion on it?
So I've been in a, before I get to my deflection, I've been in a television existential crisis where I just don't know anymore when it comes to like what to see, other than just rewatching stuff like The Thick of It or Doctor Who or Seinfeld or whatever, or hell, Veep, Mozart in the Jungle. These are all some of my favorite shows.
Hunters. No, I'm kidding.
Hang on, wait for my deflection. Now, I've got some stuff that I'm watching right now that's on like once or twice a week, like Cosmos or The Plot Against America on HBO, which, in my opinion, great show. Love the book. But a while back, I tried getting into, and I will make this quick just because Sebastian and I talked at length about this in our second episode. There was the show Hunters on Amazon Prime that I got through one episode of it and said, I probably will watch episode 2 and then that'll be it. Now, Shawnee, are you at all going to watch Hunters before I give my deflection?
I'm gonna watch it, but you do you. I'm not like worried about spoilers.
I mean, hold on.
This is spoilerific up the wazoo.
Hold on a second. Before you do, if I may ask, what exactly are you deflecting? Like, are you changing your opinion?
Oh no, I'm solidifying that I was right all along about Hunters.
So you're not deflecting anything. I still hate the show, and Shawnee may not ever see it. So.
Well, I guess my deflection is, hey Ryan, are you going to see Tiger King? And my deflection is simply, so they killed Al Pacino, who it turns out was the bad guy all along. And
oh my god!
As the show ends, it turns out not only Eva Braun is still alive, but so is Adolf Hitler. It is, as the French say, total garbage. Hitler in the 70s, just when you thought Watergate was a 70s scandal, including Nazis? I just can't do it.
I
don't need it.
So did they just read the Wikipedia page about conspiracies about Hitler's death, or what? Like, are they going off verbatim?
It's like they took Confederate States of America and made it into a mainstream show rather than the weird ass documentary that it was. I mean, it's kind of like we need less Nazis in the world, and you just brought back to life the king of the forest, like, and they made my boy Pacino the bad guy. I mean, Vito Corleone doesn't say this about Michael Corleone. He says this about Sonny. But I mean, my boy, what have they done to my boy? So yes, Shawnee, it's all up to you whether or not you want to peruse with Hunters.
If you want to see good material about World War II, watch literally anything else.
Yeah.
And it's not made in fantasy. So ironic, the movies that are set in stone in history that aren't supposed to make you feel good makes me feel a lot better watching them as opposed to Hunters. So
well, and I just basically promoted Plot Against America, which is alternative history, but it's done
in a better manner. So
yeah, and it's dignified, and it also reflects kind of, obviously, and that's the weird thing now, is you can't say the times we live in, because the times we live in have totally changed, but Plot Against America definitely reflects the post 2016 period in ways that we could never imagine. And on that light note, Shawnee, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Where can the good people find you on social media?
Oh yeah. I think all my stuff is Shawnee Badger, SHAWNEE Badger, like the animal. I'm the only person in the world with that name. I'm on the Instagram, I'm on the Twitter, and I'm on the Facebook.
Wonderful. And I know I'm pulling up Twitter, right? I know that on what is it? Yeah, you're at Shawnee Badger, and then just so people don't get confused, I guess, what's your current name? Not your handle, but your current name on Twitter?
Like the display name?
Yeah.
It's Piggy Princess, because I love pigs.
And that's
did you ask that just to make fun of her?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Just because.
Bro, you got her, man.
I'll put it this way. I remember a long time ago trying to find you on Twitter. I was like, shoot, I know Shawnee's on Twitter. And then I found your Twitter, but then I saw it said Piggy Princess, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is her. And of course it was. And that was because I saw our mutual follows, and I was like, okay, no, this is definitely Shawnee. It's not somebody that stole Shawnee's photo and made it their own profile photo. Anyway, as I recoil in my lapse of intellect, Sebastian, why don't you give off your social handles?
Yeah, and before we make practically every episode talking about hunters, it's starting to sound like the ANP in here. My handles, you can find me at Instagram at Dr. Sebi, DRSEBBY, and same as Twitter, at DR_SEBBY, at Dr. Sebi on both of them.
Lovely. And at my end, you can find me on Instagram. I am at Mancini Ryan. And on Twitter, you can find me at Mancini RA. That is the letters R and A after Mancini. And Shawnee, since you're our first guest, I will inaugurate our new term every time we have a guest who comes on the show. Typically, we'll end out the show on, if you keep going, you'll make it to Mars. In your case, welcome to Mars.
Yay! Thank you.
Oh, wait. We made it?
Well, she did. We're the transit. So we still got people there.
So we still got a Heaven's Gate our way there. All right. Well,
you better believe it.
You've been listening to Mars on Life. please make sure that you find us over on social media at Mars on Life Show on both Twitter and on Instagram. And on top of that, you can find this show on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Our artwork is done by Zachary Erberich, and our intro music is Space Explorers by Kevin MacLeod. I've been Ryan Mancini. My co-host, as always, is Sebastian Shug. And just remember, if you keep on going, you'll make it to Mars.